Golden Spiral Media presents The Blacklist Exposed.
Hello, special agents. You have come to the right place. Welcome to The Blacklist Exposed. I am Agent Troy Heinrichs. We are here with a special edition of The Blacklist Exposed with our Season 1 special archive episodes. The following episode appeared on the TV Talk network for Season 1 of The Blacklist, and we're bringing it to you here on The Blacklist Exposed, remastered and used with permission from TV Talk. We hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy this special episode from Season 1.
You're tuned in to TV Talk, The Blacklist. Welcome to TV Talk, America's #1 TV talk show network. And now it's time for TV Talk, The Blacklist.
Well, like a speeding train that has not yet come off the tracks, The Blacklist is back for another great Monday episode, and so are we. Welcome to TV Talk, The Blacklist. I'm Troy.
And I'm Dave, and tonight we delve even deeper into the mystery that is The Blacklist with Episode 2 titled The Freelancer.
Before we get started this evening, Dave, did you know that there's actually 3 main goals of criminal profiling?
I had no idea.
Well, the first is to actually provide law enforcement with a social and psychological assessment of the offender. The second goal is to provide law enforcement with a psychological evaluation of belongings found in the possession of the offender. And the third goal is to give suggestions and strategies for the interviewing process.
And we pretty much see all of those in The Blacklist as they work themselves through these interrogations.
Yeah, and I thought it was really interesting having Red be kind of the sole focus of this episode, walking around and being able to morph himself into his world, if you will. We kind of live in his shadow and in his space, kind of taking his lead throughout the course of The Freelancer this evening.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Red kind of plays with this a little bit. I mean, I think he's as well versed in profiling as the people doing the profiling. So
we had some interesting feedback from our Talkback question last week. People are about 50-50 split of whether or not Red is Lizzie's father. But remember how we talked about Kiefer Sutherland potentially playing the role of Red Reddington?
Yes, that was quite the controversy if that could have been the case or not, yeah.
Well, a crackpot theory surfaced from a friend of mine on Twitter this week that I thought I'd share. And you'll laugh at this, but what if Red really is the father, but in a weird twist of events, they pull the mask off, kind of like in a Scooby-Doo reveal, and Kiefer is in fact behind the mask, and it is Liz's father.
Well, it's an interesting premise, I'll give it that.
Yeah, we just got to find any kind of answer we can get because this show is definitely full of tons of mysteries, and we delve even deeper during this week. So let's go ahead and dig into this week's episode with our Talkback question of the week. How long does Liz keep lying to Tom about knowing about the box?
That's a great question. I'll tell you, I don't know. I don't know where they're going with that twist. That could be a series long plot point. It really could.
Yeah, so to answer that Talkback question, you can just press the Talkback area in the center of the app in the talk screen, and then we want you to share your awesome thoughts with all of your friends on Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah, and a big thanks to Aaron, Michelle, Lila, Jason, Kelly, Mike, Shirley, and Jesse. They all answered our question last week. So keep the feedback coming, and let's keep sharing so you can be entered into our weekly prize drawing with this week. It's a Logitech Harmony remote system. All the details can be found at tvtalk.com/sweepstakes.
So a great episode again this evening. And with that Talkback question about the box, I thought it was really great how we actually opened up and then we have Liz and Red kind of walking down the hall together. And as Red's talking to Liz about Tom, he says, well, you can kind of do 2 things. You can either A, turn them in, and then law enforcement's going to put them in jail because, passports are going to get you 25 years, or you can confront Tom, and then your marriage is basically in the toilet.
Right. Again, that box is going to cause a lot of problems, I feel. It is going to cause a lot of problems as we go through here, don't you think?
Absolutely. And then, they did it twice. They showed her kind of look at the box, and it has, again, that etched in wood burn mark on the top, and then they focused on it again just as she closes the box after she puts everything back in it. So I know that the scar on her hand is definitely playing some part of this overall story, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they're giving us little tidbits of information, but not enough to figure out what's going on there quite yet.
So we last left Red. He was trying to work out some kind of deal with the guys at the FBI, and they have this kind of like secret covert group of attorney general mixed in with the FBI. No way he's not getting a deal. What did you make of all that?
They had Elizabeth hooked up to a lie detector. They're just not sure what to make of this. They are finding it hard to believe that Elizabeth isn't involved in some way, but everyone's trying to get their deal made. It seems like everyone's under suspicion at this point.
Yeah, and Red and Harold are going at it back and forth again. He just keeps egging Harold on and on. You're asking the wrong questions. You're doing the wrong thing. Why don't you just listen to me? And then they finally move in, and we basically get to see another one of these shocking, revealing things that Red knows more than we do.
Yep, exactly. And he warns of some type of a large event that's going to be happening in Decatur. He's not really saying what it is, but he's saying you best have ambulances there because there's going to be injuries.
And they're talking, Attorney General's like, we're not giving him a deal. Why the heck are we supposed to listen to him? Why are we going to do this stuff? Why does he keep forcing us to do things? And yet they still go out and they still try to figure it out. And then there's good old Wrestler just kind of like, why the heck are we out here anyway?
But then we find out why they're out there. There is a massive commuter train crash. For me, it was very reminiscent of the train crash in The Fugitive. Had that same look and feel. And again, for a network TV show, very well done.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost reminiscent of that, you hate to say the train crash in Spain that was a couple of months ago, but it had that same kind of look and feel as one car just kind of tumbles over the other, and it transitions right into Red talking about all of these events that have happened, over the course of the years. 3,000 collateral damage casualties, all because someone is trying to kill one person and take one person out.
Right, exactly. And that's the point when we head into our title credits, which was kind of a mystery tonight because we know the episode is titled The Freelancer, but during the opening sequence, they gave us a series of numbers. They called it The Freelancer 145.
Yeah, and I was checking on to Get Glue. I think Get Glue said it was 246. So I think maybe they've changed the numbers around, or they didn't really think they were going to have 250 episodes to catch all 250 bad guys. I'm assuming the number is some kind of number on the list, right? So in this case, the Freelancer is number 145 on the Blacklist.
I didn't think of that, but I think that's a real good explanation of what that probably means.
So this Freelancer is taking people out basically at will, taking out their actual target and taking out these 3,000 other people through these collateral damages of, buildings being blown up, trains crashing. And I think it's really great that Red is the one that wants to have this face-to-face meeting with the Freelancer.
Yeah, absolutely. And he had a great line in there where he says that this guy does his killings in the headlines. So basically saying every time you see like a building collapse or something like that it's actually this guy, this Freelancer doing his job, that there's probably a political figure or somebody that has been taken out during this event.
And of course, Wrestler assumes that you can just dial him up on Skype or something, hey, just get him on the phone. And Red's like, I don't have a phone. I don't have email. Please, I'm a criminal.
Yes, he only does his business face to face.
So then they have this kind of walking down the hallways like we talked about, talking about the box. But then you have Harold and Wrestler also walking down the hallway on the other side, kind of the dual split personality of the operation. So they're going to have Red and Liz basically go out to this restaurant in Montreal, and then you're going to have Harold and Wrestler basically set up some kind of op so that they can take out the Freelancer on the spot.
Right, exactly. So off to Montreal they go. You got Elizabeth and Red in the back of a car, and Red seems to be trying to make it seem like a dinner date.
Yeah, we're not going to have time to eat here. Let's just get your guy. And he's like, well, it is 5:00. It is dinner.
It is dinner time.
Might as well get a bite.
Exactly. And once again, we kind of play into this whole thing of could Red be the father, because some type of a comment is made about her being his date, and she ruffles her feathers at that. He says, all right, well then you can be my daughter.
Right. And then she kind of moves into the creepy uncle stance again, because she's like, Uncle, I didn't order this.
So she definitely suspects, now they're heading into this. Nothing's happening. They're not finding any Freelancer. So she's just starting to suspect that maybe he just wanted to go out to dinner with her or something. And he asks for a profiling of himself by her.
What a great scene. I mean, this was probably the most interesting thing to sit here and watch Liz kind of interrogate the uncle or father, depending on how you want to look at what Red is. She says, you need me because you're alone otherwise.
Exactly.
I mean, how does that make, and it makes you feel vulnerable. So basically he's just putting him on the spot and kind of trying to chip at him a little bit. He takes it, like shrugs it off his shoulder and just keeps on going.
He really does it. He turns that whole thing back on her and just gives her little tidbits of information about her past. And she is really desperate to know what he knows. She knows he knows something, and she wants to know what that is. I believe she makes some type of a comment of, did you know my mom and dad? And he just, like he didn't even hear her.
Now, again, we talked about last week how there was no agent stationed outside the house. Now, when any bad guy gets up to go to the bathroom, don't you think you would follow him as he tries to exit the restaurant?
Exactly. For the second week in a row, there's another one of these kind of dough moments. Yeah, he does. He gets up to use the bathroom, and of course, he uses that diversion as a reason to escape.
So then we have him kind of walking the streets. Everybody's freaking out, trying to find him. And then all of a sudden, boom, there he is in the van the whole time.
Right. Well, Rustler is reading Elizabeth the Riot Act saying, this is your fault. He escaped because of you. She's saying, you're supposed to be watching. And they open up the door to get in, and he's sitting there.
So, of course, the target ends up being one Isabella Rossellini, playing this savior of human sex and slave trafficking. Liz has this conversation with her. I've been worshiping you my whole life. You're just such an inspiration for doing what you do. What a great job Isabella played guest starring in this episode.
Yeah, she really, really was great at it. And again, I'm wondering if we didn't catch a little bit of some backstory hinting there, because she mentions as she's meeting the Campos character that she was going through a rough time, and she found Campos to be an inspiration. It's just that mention of going through a rough time. Again, it makes you wonder, what was she involved in?
There was this conversation too about, do you have kids? So again, tying in on this motherly concept for Liz, because Liz is obviously missing, her mother not being part of her life. And then of course, Campos says, I didn't have kids of my own. The people that I save are my family. So another great family touch. There's a lot of family background that seems to be happening in the backstory of the Blacklist.
Absolutely. And during this whole thing, Red, once again, he kind of shuts himself down. He says he ain't giving any more information until he gets his deal. Earlier in the episode, the Attorney General said was not going to happen.
So he ends up getting the 2 bodyguards that he wanted out of his list of 5, Dom Bay, and then his financial person he does like the Ferris Bueller kiss. Did you notice that?
Yes. Yes,
Liz kind of like does that look at her like, oh, so that's how it is in their family.
Yeah, and the definitely a menacing looking bodyguard that they have there.
Who we find out later that Dom Bay actually has one of these scars on the back of his shoulder, so Red ends up actually saving him or hiring him because he was one of the saviors of the slave trade trafficking that was going on.
Exactly. And then we also meet a new CIA agent. I believe her name was Marie Malik. Did I get that right?
That's what I got.
An attractive yet treacherous looking lady, and we see actually in the next act just how treacherous she can be. It doesn't take long for her treachery to show itself.
Yeah, my favorite of the party scene was Wrestler coming up to Dom Bay and saying, we don't drink on the job. Wrestler's just got such a stick up his butt, maybe he could use a few.
Yeah, absolutely. And the answer is just chugging the beer in one gulp. They took care of that in short order.
So we find out then that the game is afoot. Red basically finds the Freelancer dressed as the waiter, so we assume that he's now poisoned the champagne that Campos drank, and we are off and running through the hotel, through another building. He basically breaks through to come out through the back exit, probably stole a stereo along the way.
I love the fact when he jumped off the building and you think he's up really high, and here it turns out he's like, maybe 10 feet off the ground. He just kind of hits and rolls. But I like the way they set the shot up to give the illusion that he was up in the sky, and he just dives off this building, and you think, oh, well, he's dead. But in actuality, he just kind of lands and keeps on going. And
I kept thinking again, if Wrestler only had that beer, then he probably would have been a better shot than he was, because he had pretty much a clean shot to get him a couple times.
Yep, absolutely. But again, another great chase scene. They do a good job with these high action scenes in the Blacklist. I really enjoy them.
So instead of a sober cab, they basically call a Ketchum cab. Liz basically runs him down in the middle of the street.
That's it. She just basically hits him. We head on to an interrogation scene that turns out to be, actually, it's kind of almost more of a torture scene, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say more reminiscent of 24, that just to get out one name that they want to get out of him, like who hired the hit on Campos. And of course, he says Raymond Reddington.
Right, exactly. Huge twist. Turns out that Red ordered the hit. Boy, it shocked me. It really did. I did not see that coming.
Well, and it was almost like a double twist, right? Because you're like, well, it makes sense that Red might have ordered this hit, but the reasoning why Red ordered the hit was where the shocking events really happened in season 3, when you found out that Campos really isn't all who she says she is.
Exactly. We are back in the hotel room. Elizabeth has just left the room. Campos is standing there. She spins around, and there sits Red. He makes a great line to her where he says, "The FBI works for me now," which I thought was just probably the best line of the night, actually.
And what great chemistry to see Rosalina and Spader on the screen together, just two classically trained actors going at it in this conversation to try to just basically eat off of each other. And then, of course, all of a sudden she starts to pass out from the poison when Liz enters the room.
Right, exactly. But we're also finding out that Campos has a very, very dark side. Turns out that Red was trying to expose her for the evil woman that she was. She is actually a trafficker herself. She is actually the main trafficker of human sexual trafficking. And it turns out that Red's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to expose her.
Yeah, she is the head of the cartel, and I believe Red uses the phrase Italian dog with two heads.
Yes, I believe that's exactly it.
I think that'd be considered an insult in most cultures.
I think so. And he runs down the whole laundry list of everything that Campos has done, just these horrible, evil things, ending with the fact that she actually had her own husband killed.
And then, of course, like if you admit, I'll give you the antidote, which we find out, of course, wasn't an antidote at all. It was just probably like some water or something mixed with some purple color, food coloring.
Right, exactly. And for the second episode in a row, we have Elizabeth sticking a pen in someone.
And then, of course, Red actually, what is it with you with hotel and pens and necks?
Yeah, he's got a very dry wit in this whole thing, because the other FBI agents rush into the room and what's she doing? She's laying on the floor, and he goes, I think she's dying. And she makes some gurgling death sounds, and he went, no, yeah, definitely dying.
Yeah, channeling his inner Rain Man there for sure. Definitely dying.
So, but some smart writing. I really like how the surprises are there, just really at every turn. And when you think you know it, they don't. They tweak it just a little bit more. It's exciting to watch these writers play.
Yeah, and then we get towards the end of the episode where they're just basically sitting there realizing that Red has definitely done a good job. And then she goes home, she finds this thumb drive in Tom's clothes, and he's basically saying what a great mom she would be because she couldn't think of anything else other than adopting and helping children that didn't have a home of their own.
Right. It is definitely kind of a defining moment for Elizabeth. She seems to, at that point in time, to make up her mind of what she's going to do about the box for now.
And it's interesting because that kind of plays off of two themes that are going on in this episode. You have the fact that, her mom and her dad really weren't in the picture. So was she raised by some other people as she was growing up, kind of pseudo-adopted herself? And then, of course, you have all of the sex and slave trafficking children who themselves now need homes because they've been freed and basically saved from all of the badness that's been happening in their lives. So, of course, they could be up for adoption and looking for homes themselves.
Exactly. So we end the episode really with not a lot of answered questions. They did wrap up the whole thing with the blacklist that they were searching for this time, but still a lot of questions as far as Elizabeth and her backstory and what's going to go on with her husband.
Yeah, and that comes back to the kind of the bookend of this conversation with Red. Red says, well, you had option 1 or option 2, but let's go ahead and try for option 3, which again is our talkback question of the week. How long will Liz keep lying to Tom about knowing about the box?
I think it's going to be long enough to find out the truth. I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Yep. So just answer that talkback question right in the center area of the app. Push that button. Send in your feedback like Aaron, Michelle, Lila, Jason, Kelly, Mike, Shirley, and Jesse did last week. And then, of course, share that you listen to the Blacklist with all of your friends on Facebook and Twitter, because we're going to have another great episode here in just 6 days' time.
I'm excited for it already. I can't wait.
Yep, so as always, you can definitely tune in here to TV Talk the Blacklist to join us for the case profile as we give you all the hard-hitting action and hopefully avoid trains as they jump off the tracks. So be sure to join us again next week. I'm Troy.
And I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next time on The Blacklist.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of TV Talk The Blacklist. Listen online at tvtalk.com, in iTunes, or enjoy the full experience with the free TV Talk app for Apple iOS and Android. Use the TV Talk app to listen to this week's viewer feedback clips. TV Talk The Blacklist is not affiliated with Davis Entertainment, Sony Pictures Television, or NBC. The views and opinions expressed on TV Talk The Blacklist are solely those of the hosts and do not necessarily represent those of the owner of TV Talk Network or its staff. Copyright 2013, TV Talk Network.
We hope you enjoyed this special version of The Blacklist Exposed, previously aired on the TV Talk Network and used with permission. Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinritz. That's at Troy Heinritz on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinritz.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsider.com or on Twitter at H_outsider. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of
The Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production, copyright 2015. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.